What's going on, guys? Welcome back. My name is Brandon. Today we're taking it outside, so stick around. We got a fun repair project to do. Welcome back, guys. We are outside today. Someone brought in this big frame, and what this is, it's a big aluminum boat frame. It's a little too big to be getting it into the shop, so we got a quick repair job. We're just going to do it outside. How this works is it's upside down right now. This bolts on to a boat, and it gives you a high attachment point so you can pull a water skier behind it. I think this was on a Sea-Doo boat. Well, apparently for this setup, it's a common thing that if you pull a person on a tube behind it, it creates too much drag and pressure on this frame. It actually stresses the welds and breaks it, and it's actually done that here. The person brought me this frame to repair, so that's what we're gonna do. And although this looks like a difficult, complicated repair, it's really not. You kind of just go into it by looking at what's here now, and you can see that everything was put together using MIG, and that's what we're going to do to repair it. This is going to be a real fun project, guys, because I'm going to take you through all the steps that it actually takes to repair this. It'll probably take me longer to make the video than it will actually to make the repair. So the most important thing when putting this back together, obviously, is that it goes back how it was. You can see how here that the weld has cleanly broken, and it actually creates like a key. It keys itself in. I cannot move it outside that normal position of where it wants to be. So that makes it really good for us when it comes time to putting it back together, because there's a couple things we can do that will maintain this orientation and still be able to clean all this weld up. We can't just weld over this. The issue with that is if we clean all this weld off, we're going to lose the key, it's called. So like you can see how this locks itself into position. We're going to lose that positioning if we clean all the weld off now. Something that we've talked about recently, it's called plug welding. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole, a couple of them, one here and one on the other side, and then we're going to clean everything up really good, except for we're not going to grind off any welds, and then we are going to plug weld this piece in here through those holes. Then we can clean up our weld all the way around, because we know that the orientation will be right because it'll be fitting into that key. Then we can weld it up. Piece of cake. And I'm going to be using my Yeswelder MIG 250 Pro to do this with 45 thousandths 53/56 wire. One of the first things we want to do is not disturb this material on the outside, because like I said, we don't want to mess up that key, but we do want to clean the inside of this tube and the outside of this piece right here, because that's what we're going to be welding on. To clean the inside, I think I'm going to be using maybe a combination of this flap wheel. I'm going to give this a go at first. If this doesn't work, we'll try some other things. We're not really trying to remove material, guys. We're just trying to clean it up, that's all. Aluminum, you got to get really clean, and if you don't get it really clean, you're going to have problems. So now we just got to clean up this socket, and I'm just going to use a stainless wire brush. Make sure you use a stainless brush that's just for aluminum. Don't do anything else with it. See that? One thing that's important, guys, if you're going to take on jobs like this, is that you just honest and upfront with them and straight on. You know, this will not look as good as it did from the factory, because I think it's probably got like a clear anodizing finish on it, so we're going to end up disturbing that. And the reality is that this broke, the factory weld broke, so probably have maybe a 50% chance that this could break again, because it's already stressed. This part has been stressed to the point of failure, and now you're trying to repair that failure area. You know, the metal around this has been fatigued, it's been stressed, and a lot of those things are outside your control. You can only do the best that you can do with what you got to work with. Say, don't give your customer unrealistic expectations, you know, that this is going to last forever or be just as good as the factory, because there's still that chance of failure because the metal has been stressed and fatigued. So we've got this pretty good right now. I'm just going to come in with, I think, a step bit and just drill a hole right through here and through here, and then we can clear that up, clean it up, and get ready to set up the welder and plug weld this into position. That's created a slight burr inside that hole, so we'll just take our flap wheel again and run that inside and remove that burr. And there we are, guys, nice and smooth inside, nice and smooth outside. And then we are gonna plug weld that together now that that's all keyed in. Once that's all plug welded and filled up, we'll grind it nice and smooth, and then we'll start working on this and getting all this mess cleaned out so we can re-weld it. All right, guys, we are just about ready to weld. We're gonna wipe down everything with some acetone right beforehand, but for right now, let's go through the settings real quick. So this is manual mode. This is synergic mode, meaning you set a couple parameters and then the machine will adjust the voltage and wire speed and all that and amperage for you. We're going to go into synergic mode, and then we're going to pick the material that we're using, and we're going to scroll down all the way to aluminum, 100% argon. And if you guys want to know more about this machine and all the things that it can do, I've got another video. I'll put a link up above. You can check it out. But for right now, we're just going to go right into the settings of this for what we need. So now we're going to pick our wire size. We can go all the way from 35 to 45. I'm using 45 thousandths. And now we got to set the voltage. Well, it comes with a chart inside the door. I've already looked it up. And you can set the voltage, or you can set it by amperage. And I'm going to go to 215 amps based on those parameters. I did some test pieces and everything worked out good, so now we're just going to clean everything with some acetone, wipe everything all down. Aluminum's got to be super clean when you work with it. There it is, keys right in. You can see how that like only locks in one place. Okay, let's do this. I got my ground hooked up, guys, and I'm running about 40 CFH of gas. A little high, but there's no wind right now, and hopefully it stays this way so it doesn't blow away our coverage gas. That's what you have to be careful of when you're welding anything and you have a shielding gas. And you can see, guys, this thing is locked in there right now. And the benefits of plug welding this is you actually get more weld than it initially had on it. So it acts as a strengthener. Initially I was going to put like a strip of metal around the back, but I realize now I don't need that. By doing this, I'm actually giving it additional strength. So now it's time to grind everything flush. We can grind off our plug welds, we can grind off all the original weld, and once we get that all ground off, then we can groove it out and start welding it back together. When you grind in aluminum, make sure you're using a flap disc rather than a abrasive disc or like a hard rock disc, because what can happen is that the abrasive disc can fill up with the shards of aluminum, start plugging it up, and then it can actually explode. So you want to use a flap disc when working on aluminum, or a wire brush. You can see I got everything all ground and cleaned down smooth. Now the next thing I got to do is I got to go in and cut out this crack. And I'm going to do that using a diamond wheel. And I'm going to go around and just open it up because I need to get rid of this. But again, you see why that plug welding worked out so well, because it keyed it into where it had to be. And now I can go back through and cut out all this bad spot. And this is what I use for a diamond, guys. I really like this because you can see it has a continuous rim around it. And I get these from a company out of Germany. It's called Graph Black. And you know, I don't get paid anything for saying this. I just use them and I like them. If you want to get one for yourself, I'll have a link down in the description. They work pretty good. They're just real smooth because you don't, you know, some of the discs have like the segments cut out and they bounce all around. This one, because it's continuous rim, they don't bounce around and they last a really long time, and they're not directional. Most of the diamond wheels are directional. This one is not. Now I got a couple rotary burrs. I'm just going to go around this and just groove this out a little bit better. And here it is, guys. I've got it all grooved out. As you can see, That's the underlying break right there that we've actually brought it back to. And that's what you want to do. You want to groove it all out, V it all out, so that your weld metal actually has a place to go. Welding is a lot like painting. There's just a lot of prep that leads up to the actual welding part, and there's actually very little welding. It's mostly all prep. But if you do the prep right, you're going to get a good job. It's going to be nice and solid. Just heating this up a little bit, guys. And the reason for this is that if we can get this metal up to around 200 degrees, the metal, as it melts in, the filler metal, it'll start out about the same temperature as it finishes out at. Or that's the hopes anyways. Because you don't want the filler metal to start out really cold and then end up really hot when it gets all the way to the other side. So we're just trying to bring the temperature up a little bit more so it doesn't have quite such the temperature swing. Hopefully this welds up okay, guys. It's pretty windy though. It's gotten pretty windy now. But hopefully this little tent will help a little bit. A couple pinholes I gotta fill. Here it is, guys, all put back together. And what I did is I just ground down the welds because I was having a little bit of an issue with the wind, as you saw. I had to put those tents up, and to help combat that, I just ground down the weld because I had a lot of stops and starts on it. So I figured this way it would look a little bit better. And that's all there is to it, guys. Whenever you're welding outside, it's always extremely difficult. I tried putting up the tent, as you saw. It just makes it hard because your coverage gas blows away. I started off at like 30 on my CFH for my gas, and I actually worked myself up to 50 to try to combat and offset that wind. It still wasn't producing a nice, clean looking weld, which is what I was hoping for. So rather than just gob it on, I would do a good stretch of weld when I had the tent around it, and then I'd grind it back, start it again, and I just kept doing that until I wrapped it all the way around. I actually did a couple passes, and then because it didn't overly look good, I ended up grinding it off just because I wanted it to look nice. It needs to look nice. Not only does it need to be strong, but it has to look good. And I actually think it's going to be stronger than it was from the factory, because the factory just took the socket, put it down inside the tube, and welded around it. We actually drilled holes in it, welded that socket inside to the pipe, and then we welded around the outside. If this is something that you like, please don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. New videos every Friday. If you're wondering about any of the tools that you see me using, you can click the links down below. I also have discounts for that machine. If you're looking to get one to weld aluminum, it'll save you a little bit of money. Until next Friday, guys, I will see you then. Take care, stay safe, see ya. Like, comment, subscribe. Bye.